Welcome everybody to the Back of the Nest preview podcast. Is that long enough? It'll have to do. I am Sam Hesketh. I'm joined by my good friend Albert. Hello, Albert.
Hello, mate. I was really tempted just to stay completely silent. So it was literally just you, and you would have to just try and carry on and make it a one-man show. But I didn't.
No, good. I'm sweating just thinking about that. So, a little point of order before we start. Terence is not with us this week, but unlike most weeks that we're not here, he actually has a very good reason, Albert.
Holiday?
Sort of. What is that? He's had a
Let's
baby.
be honest. Yeah, he's not going on holiday anytime soon because he's just had his second child. We don't know the name yet, so hopefully we learn that soon. But obviously, congratulations to Terence and Linda. All I'll say is having two is more than twice the work of having one.
He did send us a message that he was trying to find the vasectomy ward. 2 minutes after giving us the good news. So he's MIA at the moment. We don't know if he made it to the ward or collapsed under the weight of pressure.
They've got two children, one of which is brand new. If he thinks he's anywhere near in danger of having a third, he must be delirious or something. that's not going to be something he has to worry about for at least 6 months, I'd say.
Okay. Just in time for pre-season, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. He could name the third one after whoever scores us the winner in the FA Cup final.
God, what would be the worst person to score
what, as in terms of name?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who's got a rubbish name.
Well, I still struggle with Joachim Andersen.
Yeah.
I still read it as Joachim because of Julian Joachim. It's the same spelling, isn't it?
That's a good little
whereas like Joaquin for me is Joaquin Phoenix, which is spelt completely differently. So that'd be a tricky one. You have to find yourself explaining that one and spelling it out over the phone to British Gas and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Jeffrey's a good one. Don't get many Jeffreys these days.
Yeah, Jeff's good. Mark Gay has got quite a long name. Did you know this? Yeah, so his name is Aji Kienenkin Mark Israel Gay. So maybe
that is quite a long name.
If you go down that route, maybe that's...
Fuck putting that on the back of a Palace shirt.
Yeah,
75p a letter.
Exactly. Not gonna.
It's not 75p a letter anymore, is it? Is it just all one price now?
Oh, God knows. I was 34 when I stopped getting my name on the back of the shirt, so I think that was quite old enough. Always with a single-digit number though, because I'm quite tight.
What happened between 34 and 35 for you to decide that it wasn't appropriate anymore?
I was bullied mercilessly by literally everyone I know. So that's it of that.
And do you remember the last name you got on the back of your shirt? Was it your own or was it a player?
It was my own.
Yeah, of course it was. I bet you spelt it ESKIF, didn't you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Will not confirm that my squad number was 69. We'll leave it there.
Amazing.
Yeah, so let's move on. But congratulations to Terence. Great news, and I'm sure we will hear all about how little sleep he's got on the next pod. So everyone who's listening will have to bear with me because I'm sort of the host today.
It's your turn this week.
Albert is a lot more experienced and a lot more qualified to do this. So apologies for any umming and ahhing because there'll be quite a lot. But let's start off with something positive, which is Wilf's goal against Norwich getting goal of the month. Did you see that?
Do you know what? I saw the goal. I didn't know. I missed the notification that it's been awarded goal of the month. But
He
yeah,
did a little video talking about basically he scores goals like that all the time in training, and he needs to sort of have the confidence to do it in a game. And of course, he did it against Norwich, and then did the exact same thing against Watford like a week later. So I feel like really he was nailed on to win goal of the month because he had 2 goals of the month in one.
so you sort of like if he was like a Street Fighter character, you're saying that would be a special move.
That would be a special move, yeah.
That would be a special move. Yeah, I mean,
Good
he's definitely
combo.
scored goals like that before as well.
He has.
Um,
Huddersfield away was one of them.
yeah, and I mean, when he hits it and he hits it right, it is unstoppable. So
Yeah.
I'm up for seeing him try that at least 10 times a game.
He sort of tried it again against Wolves when
Yeah.
Elise did a magical bit of flip-floppery and got past half the Wolves team and sort of sprayed the ball cross pitch to him.
The big switch after the little drag back, and I don't know what he did, but that Wolves midfield that tried to slide tackle him, I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah. He's probably bossing it against Watford right now, actually, as we record that Wolves midfielder.
4-0 up at the time of recording.
Not going too well for Roy there. Poor Roy.
Poor Roy.
But speaking of Wolves and the game we played so well in, Gareth Southgate was there watching the game with a lot of sort of reports that 2 of the players that he was watching were Tyrick Mitchell and Mark Gahey, both of whom played very, very well. So what do you think? Impressed? Get them into the squad?
Yeah, well, I think Mitchell, Gahey, and obviously I know there's a lot of headlines about Elise now. You know, Gareth. You know, one headline today: Gareth Southgate in a race to get Elise to commit to England. But yeah, I thought there was three very good performances there, and and there's Gallagher as well, who had one of his better games in recent weeks. I think that and Watford as well. But Mark, I mean, we've touched on this before. Mark Gahey just gets better every week, and yeah, I think you look at the and the same goes for Mitchell as well. You look at the options that England have got in those positions, and I mean, I'd love to say that they're definitely going to get a run out. I'm not touting them to nick a starting place or go to the World Cup But yeah, Gareth Southgate's got a very good track record of letting players like that just come into the squad and get a cap and have a turn, And he'd be mad if he wasn't looking at certainly Gahey, certainly Mitchell, and giving them a chance. I think Gallagher's got a bit of a tougher job because that midfield role for England has got quite a few people queuing up and, arguably at bigger and better clubs. And Elise, I mean, Lord knows what's going to happen with him. It'd be great to see him turn out for England. But yeah, those 2 defenders particularly, I think Gareth Southgate would be mad to not give him a run out. You look at the state of English defenders at the moment. Not naming any names, Harry Maguire, and English left backs. There's not a huge amount of them at the moment, so they'd be mad to not give him a run out.
And I think it's also a good indication of how Palace are going, where, for example, Mark Gahey made the decision to leave Chelsea permanently, and going, we'll touch on it briefly in a minute, but going on what's happening with them at the moment, looks like they're not going to be able to bring anyone in for a while. But he made that decision to leave them permanently and come to Palace, and within half a season, it's paying off, and I think that's a good sign for other players to come to Palace. They'll get game time under Vieira, playing in a certain way, which, is enjoyable to watch, and we're sort of getting better at it, I think. So hopefully, they'll get an England call up, and that in turn will sort of make people take more notice of Palace and maybe help us getting signings in the summer.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, historically, under previous managers, and I think Hodgson included, English players had to sort of force a move away from clubs like us to go to a top 4, top 6, top 8 club to even stand a chance of getting selected for a friendly, let alone getting game time in a qualifier or a tournament. There's always been in previous years, previous managers of England, a very legitimate big club bias, and that's always been our worry. I think we had it with, cast my mind back, like the Routledge situation. I think it was Routledge. Agent telling him, well, if you want any chance of playing for England, you've got to leave, all that sort of stuff. And I think, and again, credit to Gareth Southgate. I think that's becoming less and less the case. If you're an English player who's in form and you're playing regularly, it doesn't matter if you're top half, bottom half. You're in with a shout of getting a cap or two. And Mark Gahey and Tyreek Mitchell should hopefully feel sort of they don't listen. Everybody's got aspirations of playing in the Champions League and whatever, bigger clubs, bigger stadiums. But certainly in the case of those two, Mitchell's obviously been at the club a longer time. Gahey's been here 6 months. Hopefully he's not feeling, I need to try and progress to the next level and go to a whatever top 6 club to be within a chance of an England cap. So, the way that England's set up is run at the moment, I think it benefits clubs like us, because hopefully it means we're less prone to having players sort of poached under us in the hope of making it at international level.
And you mentioned it briefly about Michael Olise. Reports coming out today that Southgate wants to talk to him to persuade him to declare for England, because I think I've read in the past he's eligible for France, Nigeria, and possibly Algeria as well. But the last time I remember Southgate talking to a player to persuade them to declare for England, Wilf chose Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, the fact that Southgate wants to talk to Olise anyway now shows the mark that Olise's made this season. And Vieira was talking about it in the press, saying, we always knew how good Olise was. We just wanted to ease him into first team football. And I think with hindsight, even though we all wanted him in the team sooner, it's paying dividends at the moment, because he really is untouchable with the ball. At Wolves, like you say, that their players were falling over and slipping over and just not getting anywhere near him. So the fact that he's being talked about potentially for England call-ups, even if it's very early days, when he's only played half a season of Premier League football, shows that he's going in the right direction as well.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's a position for England where you sort of think, well, who are England's best, out and out wide midfielders? There's lots of people that do play on the outside of the three, whether it's Harry Kane up front or someone else, but they're all players who, apart from Raheem Sterling, they're all players who do a good job out there. But again, they're not necessarily natural out and out wide players. And Olise, whilst again we've seen it a couple of times at Palace, he's very good playing at sort of the number 10 role as well. Surprisingly good at it, actually. He's an out and out wide man. And the havoc that he can cause on that wing, and still with the ability to cut in and get a shot away, or to put a cross in, from still that wide position. Again, I just can't. If they can convince him to declare for England, they'd be mad to not let him have a chance. I think he's just, again, coming on leaps and bounds.
So moving on, I don't have a segue. I'm no good at those. But there are a couple of really good. One was an interview on a podcast, and one was a video for International Women's Day that Palace put out. The video was a sort of 15-minute interview of High Money, the photographer, who has sort of been a Palace legend for ages, and a name synonymous with all the famous photos you saw, especially during the 80s and 90s. And she had a little interview on the Palace YouTube where she talks about all of the issues she had trying to be a photographer, all of the abuse she got from the male photographers at the time, and how she sort of overcame it. And she talks about some of her iconic photos and how they came about. So I would say that's well worth a watch. And the podcast interview is with Molly Sharp, who plays for the Palace women's team this year. and it's an interview by Back of the Nest Zone producer Sam and Cara. I'm sure most of you listening to this will already have listened to it, but it's a very good listen and talks about Molly, how she got into the game, going to America on a scholarship, and coming, how she got to play for Palace, and how important it is that the profile of women's football has been raised for younger kids, both girls who can look at them and say, this is something I can do as a profession, and also boys to look at and say, well, there's no reason that girls or women shouldn't be playing football as well. So if you haven't listened to that, it'll be on your Back of the Nest feeds. It's well worth a listen. It's definitely something that we will try and do a bit more of, I think. Cara and Sam have done a great job with that one. So if you like it and you've listened to it, give us a shout. The more support we get for it, the better, obviously, and the more we can do in the future. I wasn't paid by Cara or Sam to say that. So you're welcome. Did that sound natural? No.
Yeah. I was about to say, who needs a segue?
Terence ruined it. Shit.
I don't think Terence needs to come back.
Okay, I'll take that. That's fine.
He can go for that vasectomy.
Oh, I was going to try and make a segue pun with the word snip there, but I wasn't quick enough.
Don't worry, we'll snip that bit out.
Boom.
Something like that.
Fantastic. Onto a completely separate, non-segued point. Chelsea are in trouble. That was announced today.
Yeah. I mean, who saw that? Yeah. I mean, I've only just sort of caught up on sort of the major headlines, but I don't know if it's just being sensationalized. But yeah, it sounds like they're in a they sound like they're in the real shit.
The one thing that stood out when I was reading it was that, I say only because it is football in terms, but they only get 20 grand for travel, and they've got to go to France for the Champions League soon. So they're either going to jump on the mega bus to Dover, they're going to swim in dinghies, or they're going to be slumming it on EasyJet or Ryanair with the rest of the peasants. I wonder how they're going to deal with that.
Or someone's going to have to, 5 of them are going to have to just drive, 4 or 5 people.
Yeah. If that was an Amazon documentary, that would be the week worth filming, I reckon.
Absolutely. Yeah,
get them in a camper van and have them hitchhiking across France.
So I'm right in saying that they're not allowed to. The way somebody described it to me is they're not allowed to sort of accrue any new business or.
Yeah.
So match day tickets. If I wanted to go to Chelsea next weekend, I wouldn't be able to buy a ticket. It would only be season ticket holders. I mean, that's quite hilarious.
And they're not allowed to buy or sell. So, friend of the pod, Carl, did tweet immediately upon reading the news that this doesn't mean we're going to get Conor Gallagher for like a packet of Monster Munch, which is kind of a shame.
Multi-pack of Monster Munch?
Well, I'd push the boat out. I'd do it. So yeah, they're in a bit of trouble there, and I have to say I don't feel sorry for them one bit.
No, not at all. I mean, obviously, it's a sort of knock-on effect of a much sort of more serious, shit situation. So it's sort of difficult to revel in it too much because, like I say, it's as a result of some horrendous stuff going on, but. Purely in football terms, and speaking exclusively in football terms, it is it's good to see that even though it's not being it's not being it's not being actioned by the football body itself. It's actioned by obviously the government and all that stuff. But it's good to see that there is kind of a even at what cost, but it's good to see that there is some sort of we do, push come to shove, we are aware that there's whatever you want to call it, illegitimate money, shady money in football, and and that, and a it shouldn't be allowed, and b that it can hopefully face consequences. And do I feel sorry for the average Chelsea fan on the street who has no choice necessarily and who runs their club? Maybe. But in terms of, and I think it was Simon Jordan who said that, Roman Abramovich has been sort of heralded as this guy that transformed the Premier League. And, he came out and sort of said, no, he didn't. Football was always on an upward trajectory, the brand of the Premier League. And Abramovich sort of came in with, almost even regardless of where the money's come from, he sort of came in and sort of spoiled the game, really.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we've seen that. Man City, there's questionable money there. Newcastle, in very recent history, there's questionable money there. Everton, obviously, with Usmanov. It's good to see that it can't just be brushed under the carpet again. Whether that's something that the football authorities themselves have decided, or a greater power has decided. So, I'd like to think that it might, the fit and proper persons test, which, let's face it, is clearly a load of fucking bullshit. Maybe that changes moving forward, and we start actually thinking a bit more about, what we're allowing into the game, and what's, the money that's sloshing around. Where's it actually been sloshed from?
Well, from the ugly side of the game, Albert, to the beautiful side of the game, Palace's first half against Wolves was absolutely brilliant. And a lot of people have said that it was the best sort of 45 minutes in the first half that we've had all season. But also what a good defensive display it was in the second half, where we weren't as attacking as we had been, but we defended very well. We didn't go way too deep, as we've been guilty of in the past this season. We didn't let in silly late goals. And Vieira, I think, said that it was sort of his most complete performance as a team under him this season. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I think speaking in sort of very reductive terms, as you've alluded to, the first half was magnificent. And I think, to be honest, I think even myself at times in the second half was like, oh, what are we doing? Why aren't we as good as we were in the first half? But ultimately, we didn't need to be as good as we were in the first half, or we certainly didn't need to play in the same style. We were really on the front foot in the first half. And, it happened when we beat Wolves at home as well. They were a team that's really in form. And listen, I know it was Watford tonight, but they've put 4 past somebody tonight. So yeah, I mean, the first half was sort of mind blowing. I sort of winced a little bit at the lineup, but again was happily proved wrong by a couple of people on the pitch. And then second half you sort of come out and we don't need to go on and score another 2 goals in the second half. We just need to make sure we're not giving sloppy chances away. We're keeping it solid, and we sort of went. I guess we sort of reverted to what we would all expect under, again, previous seasons. Trying to hit people on the break. We weren't on the front foot necessarily. And I thought the subs that Vieira made were good. I thought, again, I'll say it, Luca. I thought when he came on, he was brilliant. Did the job exactly that he was supposed to do. Again, after a couple of dodgy performances over the sort of recent weeks, he came on and I thought he was perfect in that role. I thought the only negative, and again, I'm not going to sit here and say, wow, it was shit. I thought Benteke struggled a little bit when he came on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I think we know this about Benteke. If Benteke doesn't get a run of minutes or a run of appearances, when he does get back in the team, whether it's starting or off the bench, kind of takes him a bit to get sort of back up to speed. And I thought he looked a bit rusty. He couldn't really get a foot on the ball, but he was battling and winning headers and shoring us up at the back like he does. I thought it was a real game of 2 halves, but in both of those halves, we did exactly what we needed to do, and it was executed brilliantly.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was it was a bit weird watching how good we were in the first half. It was just very comfortable. Every time we had the ball, we looked dangerous. I thought, again, Mateta played well, just running around a lot. And I think to your point on Benteke, and this is no shade on him because I do like him as well, but he's not scoring that first goal. He doesn't make the dart to the front post and anticipate Wilf getting the ball in. And I think his issue a lot of the time is he kind of tries to tee himself up for the perfect shot, Benteke. And there was a couple of chances in the second half where a ball got played into him in the box, and you just think, just swing your leg at it. If it don't go in, it don't go in, but just have a shot. And he'd sort of take another touch to try and set himself up, and then it will get cleared, it will get blocked. And that's just not the player he is. Mateta is a lot more instinctive, I think, up front. I think Edouard is as well, but we put Benteke on for different reasons, and like you say, without a real run in the team, if he's coming on for sort of 10, 15 minutes here and there, then it's quite hard to really get a foot in the game for Benteke. But yeah, I agree with what you said. I think everyone played well, and in the second half, we didn't have to go all guns blazing. We contained him pretty well. Obviously, during the game, there were moments where I just thought, oh God, just get rid of it. But then when you look back on it, you weren't really in any trouble. I think Guaita made a good save, I think with his head. But really, he wasn't really troubled that much. And as much as Wolves, well, before today, weren't in an amazing run of form, they still were 8th in the league, I think, when we played them. So they're not shit, and for us to comprehensively beat a team like that is pretty impressive.
Horrible bunch.
Horrible bunch. Oh, horrible.
I mean,
bunch.
it was similar to the home fixture. Cynical.
Yep.
Going down, staying down, rolling round, surrounding the ref. Really, really sort of, like I say, I'm really glad that we managed to outclass them in every respect, because they were certainly trying to fight dirty, shall we say?
Yes, they were. One thing that did come out sort of in recent days is a story which I don't really think has much. I don't think it really has any legs. But talk of Vieira and Odsonne Edouard falling out. The article I saw was very sort of generic, basically saying players on the subs bench wish they were playing, which is pretty standard fare. I would imagine any player who's not playing would want to play. But obviously he hasn't been playing as much. He hasn't started. I think he started against Brentford, but that's it. But then you look at Mateta's form. He's scoring goals. He's looking good. His game suits the way we're playing at the moment. He is a bit sort of all arms and legs, but he presses really high. He's always running around, and he anticipates, like I said. So, what do you think that Edouard is going to get back in the team soon? Do you think it's just a case of waiting until Mateta's sort of hit a bit of bad form, or do you think?
Yeah,
we'll
probably.
rotate?
I mean, to be honest, and this is going to sound maybe a bit callous, I actually don't care who's starting out of those three, because they're all three of those players are players that I like and I think can do a job. I'm still big on Benteke when he gets a run in the team, and I think when he has had a run in the team, I think he's sort of shown glimpses of sort of what we'll call pre-injury Benteke. Mm-hmm. I saw the Spurs goals again from the home game. Edouard's debut and those really instinctive finishes, and I think he's clearly got a lot to offer us. And I think Mateta's taken, probably most of us by surprise. He was, he didn't have a great time under Roy, bar the couple of rascal goals. And he's kind of one that, let's be real. In January, we were sitting on this pod, and I can't pull up those the eyes and the nose, but we were debating: do we keep him? Do we send him back? Do you cut your losses? And I think it was shortly after obviously the Millwall goal, which again, just in all the context and in terms of celebrations, it is probably one of the best things I've ever seen in an away end. So yeah, I think you have to give credit to Mateta and you have to give credit to Vieira for the fact that he's now playing, and whether you like it as an individual or not, he's keeping Christian Benteke and what was probably one of our marquee signings in on Odsonne Edouard on the bench. Edouard's not getting a sniff at the moment, and we've all got our favourites, we've all got our preferences. But for me, I can't think of a time as a Palace fan in certainly in Premier League sort of history, having three strikers who I actually don't care which one of them starts. And I think that's a luxury that we haven't had for the best part of 8-9 years. And I think it's something that we should all, actually sit back and enjoy, because now I think we've got a more balanced team. We don't always have to go through Wilf, and Wilf sort of seems to have transformed his game slightly. He's not trying to beat every player with a trick, and to the point where he's actually getting slagged off for it a little bit, which is ridiculous because he seems to be able to. He still seems to be getting around players. He's just maybe he's got a bit more quality around him, who's happy to take that ball and find him again. Elise on the other side, who's like I say, half a season into his Palace career, and he didn't get a look in sort of during the early stint of that. He's come in and he's really come alive. Jordan Ayew on the bench is coming on and putting in a shift. So it's got like the person in the middle, the sort of focal point of that attack. It's, again, irrelevant isn't the word I'm looking for, but it almost doesn't matter because you've got such a balanced team that whoever you put up there, whether you're playing a bit more direct for someone like Benteke, Mateta seems to be sort of 6 of one, half dozen the other. You can lump it up to him. He's not quite as good in the air as Benteke, but again, he's got a bit more pace and he does look to get in behind. Sometimes he's a bit too keen and the offside flag's going to catch him out, but that's fine. We've got a choice of three strikers who, whichever one you put on the pitch, and depending what you put behind and either side of them, we're creating more chances. All right, we're still not creating bucket loads of chances, but again, this time last year, it was a completely different scenario, and so I'm all for having those three strikers fighting each other to earn that shirt. I think it's a real prospect for us.
Yeah, I completely agree, and like you say, the guy who's got the place in the first team at the moment scoring. If he played 5 or 6 games and did nothing, I don't think Vieira would have a problem swapping him out for one or the other of those two on the bench. So yeah, I agree. I think we're in a very good spot. Even if Benteke goes in the summer, which he might conceivably do, Mateta and Edouard are both 24, so they're young, but still got a bit more experience, still learning, and you would think another year under Vieira with this sort of team, and whoever we bring in the summer will improve them even more. So yeah, I agree. And you talk about sort of the depth that we've got in our squad, and everyone having a different opinion on who would be in the team. Before the Wolves game, when Schlupp was in, I know Hambo is not a fan of Jeff, and he had a bit of a rant in the WhatsApp. I've been known to not be Jeff's biggest fan.
I'd be a coward if I sat here and said that I wasn't doing the same. So credit where credit's due.
You look at Vieira. He obviously knows why he's picking him for a particular game, and the one thing that Schlupp is very good at is sort of bursting forward with the ball. And my issue with him is that he doesn't really do it enough in a game or enough consistently over a number of games. But you look at his performance against Wolves. He burst through in the box and had a shot that just went wide. He did it again and got the penalty. And after the game, Wilf said, having Schluppy running sort of up the wing allows Wilf to come inside, or if Schlupp runs inside, it creates space for Wilf. So it's obviously a specific role that he's there to play. And similarly, if you look at the cup game against Stoke when we brought Gyro on, I questioned what the fuck he was doing, and then Gyro scored the winner. So Yeah, I mean, the depth is great. It's not something we've really had. I look at that Watford team, and in the year 2022, Tom Cleverley is starting a Premier League game for Watford. So we're doing fine. But we come to the game on Monday, which is no easy game. Obviously, the visit of Manchester City, who in the second half against Man United, albeit against Man United that sort of had given up, looks absolutely unbelievable. But we beat them at the Etihad. And in the first half against Man U, there were definitely signs that they could be got at. Now, obviously, I'm the miserable one. I'm not going to say that that's going to happen. But how do you view going into this game against Man City? Do you think we'll keep a similar team? Do you think we'll change a striker, change the way we play, bring Hughes back in, bring MacArthur back in? How do you think we'll go?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't think Vieira will want to change it too much. I think we might see a tweak in midfield. I don't know what the James MacArthur situation is at the moment. He seems to be sort of a game in, a game out at the moment. I think Mateta will stay. I think he'll keep his place because he's a bit more of a nuisance. He's all limbs, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing. And that goal that he scored on Saturday is pure just being a pain in the box and persevering and like I say I like the fact that he might get caught offside every now and then, but I like the fact that he's trying to break that line, and he's willing to make that run. And I think if you think about how we played against City in the reverse fixture, that Conor Gallagher goal particularly, it's a counter attack. We know they're going to have most of the ball. We expect them to have most of the ball. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll probably end up. I'd probably put Hughes in. In fact, I thing is, I'm saying this, and I know that it's going to be Schlupp. Yes, I would put Hughes in. Do I expect it to happen? I'm not sure, but for me, Kouyaté has been just imperious since he came back from the AFCON. You can't drop Kouyaté. Can you drop Jeffrey Schlupp based on his last performance? We'll leave that one as a 50-50. Because again, like Hambo, I was a bit like, oh, Schlupp again, but he had a great game.
He did.
Gallagher, you'd feel hard done by if he missed out. So yeah, and at the same time, you want Zaha, Elise, and probably Mateta on the pitch at the same time. So again, it's a testament of our depth. We're sitting here talking about playing probably the Premier League champions, maybe the FA Cup winners, and maybe the Champions League winners. And we're sitting here going, we don't necessarily know what our best 11 is, and it's for positive reasons. It's not because we haven't got anyone to choose from. Anyone can come in there and do a half decent job, and that's not to say that we won't get turned over 3-0. But they're more than capable of doing that to us. But it's just nice to sit here. Am I dreading the game? No, I'm not actually. Do I think we'll get anything out of it? Probably not. But I'm also confident that we're not going to get rubbed over 4-0. So again, I think that's a testament to the team in itself.
It is, and I think if you look at our results of recently, the wins against Watford and Wolves, and not losing, much as we'd like to have beaten them, not losing to Norwich, Brentford, and Burnley, who are below us, does give us that cushion, that buffer, where the Man City game is a free hit. I'm not trying to be small club mentality or whatever, but realistically, you look at Man City, we're trying to guess what our team is. I've got no idea who Guardiola's going to play, because whatever team he puts out is going to have 11 quality players in it. But we're now not looking over our shoulder where we're thinking, God, we really even have to try and get something out of Man City. We have got good results in the last sort of 5-6 games. I think the Chelsea game, obviously we lost late on, but we absolutely didn't deserve to lose that, in my opinion. So that would be another draw, let's say. So it is going to be tough, but like you say, we shouldn't be overly fearful of what's coming. To me, Chelsea is always a team where I'm like, and I said this on the pod, I just feel like they're robotic. They'll just beat us. Obviously, a lot of the time, Liverpool will beat us, Man City will beat us. But there's a little bit of me that's like they can be got at. We all have to play very, very well, and something will have to happen. You know, at the Etihad, we did play very well. It obviously helped that they had a man sent off. But when you can call on, as we did in the Etihad, we brought on Elise, and I think we brought on Schlupp as well. To have that on the bench to come on late in the game is huge. You know, if you look at our bench now, if you say, well, we're bringing on Edouard, or we're bringing on Hughes, or bringing on Schlupp, that's good for a team. Kelly.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, for a team at our level, to have options as good as that on the bench, we're in a much better place than we have been in the last few years, and I don't think many teams will have as good a depth of squad as we do, to be honest.
No, completely. And listen, we know City are a team that are going to play with a high line. You know, the onus is on them to come and, you know, they can't really afford to drop any points. You know, all right, Liverpool are behind, but they're not that far behind, and they've still got to play each other. So anybody now in the league that's playing Liverpool or City is in for a tough time, because neither of them will, like, Liverpool have to win every Premier League game between now and the end of the season to stand a chance of winning the league. And City know that. And like I say, the onus is on them. They can't afford to drop any points. So we know they're going to play on the front foot. We know they're going to play a relatively high line. And I think that plays into our hands as long as we're resilient at the back and we don't gift silly goals. You know, if we can get to half time at 0-0 or within a 1-goal swing, you know, there's nothing to be afraid of. Because quite frankly, if it's not a binary choice, but I've said to you, would you rather in on Monday night, or would you rather beat Everton in the cup game? I know which game I'm picking.
Yeah.
So I think we need to go out on Monday. Don't be scared. Play our game. See if we can nick them on the break. You know, see if Mateta can get in behind, because we know Elise and Zaha are more than capable of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice to sit here and go, yeah, we're playing Man City, and I'm not that bothered by it, to be honest.
Yeah, it is a good position, and like I said, I think that helps. Our recent form helps that, because even if you look at that Norwich game, all right, drawing 1-1 against Norwich is on paper not great, but that second half we had 80% of the ball, we absolutely hammered them. If Wilf hadn't slipped in that game, no one worries about it, you know. And I think we're capable of stepping to the level of teams like Man City and Liverpool. We had a poor first half against Liverpool, and that's what, you know, I agree with you, that's what we need not to do against Man City. But if you look at the second half performance that we put in at Selhurst against Liverpool a few weeks ago, we were absolutely brilliant. And if not for an absolutely awful decision on that penalty that literally everyone except Jota and Jurgen Klopp, and I suppose the VAR referee, think, you know, is an atrocious award of a penalty. If it's not for that, the impetus of us, we may well have got an equaliser there. So we need to, not be scared of what's coming. Obviously, they're going to have chances, and it's going to be very difficult to beat them. But we've done it once. We kept a clean sheet against them at the Etihad, which I would wager not many teams have. And we should be positive. And if we lose, we're losing to Man City, who are, like you say, probably going to win everything they've entered in. So it's not a sort of black mark on the season, is it? So
if we lose, Vieira out.
Well, I have to say, I've got the absolute kiss of death came through on my phone earlier today. Pseudo friend of the pod, because he's never been on it and he never will be, Miserable Dave, who regular listeners will remember me mentioning a few times.
Owes me a pint.
Who owes Albert a pint, by the way, has been singing his version of a Vieira song, which ends, "We win 5 in 35." And it was winding me up against Brentford. It pissed me off. However, he has texted me today saying that he is starting to love Patrick Vieira. And that is a very worrying thing for him to say. He said, "I'm starting to love Patrick Vieira, which isn't a good sign. He's either going to get shit or he'll leave us." So at least he knows what his jinx is. And then he followed up with, "No good can come from me loving Patrick Vieira." So now I'm worried that all this positivity that's emanating from the two of us is going to go down the toilet because Miserable Dave agrees. It's not a good sign.
Your positivity. I don't know if it's something to do with Terence not being here, but even I'm sitting here a little bit taken aback at your positivity.
I haven't even had any beer. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the beer dampens my spirits.
No, listen, I think we should go straight onto predictions whilst you're still riding this crest of positivity.
Okay. I think we're going to lose. You'll be happy to hear.
Okay.
I think it'll be 3-1, but I don't think it'll be like we were never in it. I think we'll be in it, but they'll be a bit too strong for us.
An honourable loss.
Yes.
I'm going to be. I mean, I don't want Liverpool to win the league, so I can't. But I do want to. Obviously, I do want to get a point. So I'm going to go for a really optimistic 1-1, which even I don't believe, but I'm just going to do it just because Terence isn't here to go. Who's obviously off his nut on new baby endorphins. He'd probably say 5-1 Palace or something. Yeah. Especially with the crazy juice that he drinks. So yeah, I'm gonna go for an overly optimistic 1-1.
I mean, I think that's a pretty positive note to end on. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like we can't. If we stay on any longer, I'm going to talk myself out of all of that positivity. So
exactly. Well, on that note, this pod. Well, you said it last week. Doesn't really matter when this pod comes out because if you're listening to us, then it's out. But I'm sure there will be some sort of review show after Man City on Monday. I'm sure DR will do some sort of YouTube show after Man City. And I'm sure that we'll be back to preview the Everton Cup game, which is the following Sunday.
Oh, it's so exciting.
I don't want to think too far ahead because then I will get miserable.
Well, listen, I'm saying it now. I've had to look that far ahead because FA Cup final weekend is Bernie's 3rd birthday weekend. So I've already had to push his birthday party to the Sunday just in case we make it to the final. I've jinxed it.
He won't remember. It's fine.
Yeah.
And on that note, sorry, Bernie. Thanks for listening. And up the Palace.
Second child syndrome. There you go, Tel. There's a tip for you right there. Up the Palace.